Hello, welcome back to this HTML5 lesson. So in this lesson, we are going to be talking about still the basics of HTML. Still be talking about HTML, the basics of HTML. So in this chapter, we will show you some basic HTML examples. Don't worry if we use tags you have not learned about. So I thought I must have taught you about tags in the previous lesson, H1 tag, paragraph tags, and what tags really mean. Okay. So an HTML document must start with a document type declaration, which is what we have here. It must start with this to show that that is an HTML5 document must start with this to show that this is an HTML5 document. Okay, that is what we have here already. We've learned about that. I also want to do a quick revision. Then the HTML5 document itself begins with HTML and ends with the HTML tag. Okay, so the HTML5 document itself. Okay, this shows that this is an HTML5 document. Then the HTML document itself is what we have here. Then everything down here. Then we have everything. The HTML document itself is what is this, the end tag, and this is the opening tag. Just leave it that way. Just put everything you are designing inside it. Okay. Remember the structure you screenshotted, the one I asked you to screenshot. I don't know if you screenshotted it, the one in the previous lesson. Then the visible part of the HTML document is in between the body and the body tag. We talked about this and we've created something about that, which is this, which is what have the H1, the heading tag, and the paragraph tag. Okay, so it is what comes up on the browser. So we already know about this. So the doc type HTML declaration represents the document type and helps browser to display web pages correctly. So if you did not put the doc type HTML, the browser will not treat your HTML document as a real HTML5 document. You understand? So the browser does not know what to do. The browser only obeys your instruction. That is programming for you. You understand? The computer only obeys the information you send to it. Whatever you do to the computer is what it carries out, or is what it executes. Whatever instruction you pass to it is what it executes. So the computer will only look at your code and give you results based on the code you have. You understand? Then it must only appear once at the top of the page. It must only appear once. Don't input it twice. Don't input it at the bottom of the page. Just once. Okay, it does not have a closing tag. That's how it is. Then one more thing. The doc type declaration is not case sensitive. What I mean by is not case sensitive is that it does not really have to be in capital letter. That's uppercase. It can be doc type.html. You understand? But most of the time, it's just best practice to just write it this way. Okay, so it doesn't really matter. So let's read on. So the doc type declaration for HTML5 is this, which is what we have here. So the doc type for HTML5 document is what we already have here. So we know about that. So one of the things I want us to do again to learn more about the HTML heading. So let's look what we have here. The headings, the HTML headings. So HTML headings, like I said, we worked with that. We work with HTML headings here. I have to close this tab. Don't need it. So this is what we have here, but we can see we have just one heading. I told you that we have other types of heading. We have different kind of heading apart from just the H1, and the different kind of heading is what define the size of the text in it. Okay, so let's read more about that. So reading from here, you can see that the H1 defines the most important heading. The most important heading. As you can see, what we used here is the H1 to achieve this, which is the most important heading. So if we can actually reduce the size. We can reduce the size using CSS, but I won't really go into that. We'll get into that. Okay. So HTML headings is good. We can style it. We can reduce the size. You can make it smaller. But it is doesn't that it is most important. It is the most important heading. So if you want to create, let's say, a page, you can use the H1 as to create the title. You can put the title of the page in the H1. Like I did not mean this one, not this page, and not this kind of, not the title bar. Like you want, let's say this is the title of our page now. Then you can say let's change this to poem, my poem. Let's say type my poem. My poem. Okay, so if I refresh this browser after saving it, you can see we have my poem right here. Okay, so now you understand what I actually mean. You understand? You understand what I actually mean when I say title. So you can, it's just that this is the most important. Then we have others. We have the H6 defines the least important heading. You understand what I mean by the least? You understand? The least important heading. So we have the H1, we have the H2, we have the H3, we have the H4, we have H5, and then the H6. So we don't have H7, we don't have H8, we don't have H9, we don't have H10. Okay, we only have H1 to H6, please. So now you can see what we have here. The H1 is heading 1, then the H2 is heading 2, then the H3 is heading 3. So what I want us to do right now is to see how this really works. So I'll just come here and I'll clear this long paragraph. Just make sure you're writing it. You don't really have to clear yours, but I would like to clear it so I'll explain better. So I'll just clear everything. I'll clear the paragraph. I'll also clear this H1 we have here. So what I want us to do right now is to create H1. We should create content with H1, H2, H3, H4, H5 to H6. Let's see the difference. Now the H1 will be appearing bigger because we can actually reduce the size, you understand, but it just shows that this is the most important. So HTML is just trying to tell us that this is the most important. Okay, so please don't forget it is the most important. So let's create content with H1 to H6. Let's see how it really looks. So I'll come here and I'll say H1. So I'll say H1. So I'll just choose what we have here. If you're using Visual Studio Code with me, so I'll say this is the content I'm writing right now. This is an H1 element. So I'll create another tag and I'll say H2. Now I'll say this is an H2 element. So which simply means for wherever you see H, just know that we mean heading 1, heading 2, but we have to obey the structure. We have to obey it. This is the way it is programmed to work. So this is an H2 element, so which means heading 2. Just note that, but don't write it in full heading 2. Just write it this way, H2. Then next one I want to write is H3. Please follow me as I do this, okay? This is an H3 element. Then H4. I'm sorry, I went to write H1 again, sorry. H3 element. Then the next one is the H4 element. Just write the H4, then choose. Then I'll say this is an H4 element. And the next one I want to write here is H5. Then you choose it. Just write H5. Visual Studio Code will automatically show you options. Okay, so I say this. So I write this is an H6 element. This is an H6 element. Then the final one I want to have here is the this is an H5 element. What am I writing? Okay, this is an H5 element. Then the final one is the H6. Then you choose this, or you type it yourself. Okay, this is an H6 element. Now go ahead and click on Ctrl S, or you can always save it from here by clicking on save. Okay, so now we've been able to save this. Let's open our browser. Now let me tell you what you are likely to see. Then if it doesn't work that way, then what is going on? Then what is going on? That's what we're going to ask ourselves. So let's just be sure. So what we have here right now is H1 is an H1 element. This H1 is the most important. You understand? Then the next important one is the H2. The next important one is the H3. The next important one is the H4. The next important one is the H5. Then the least one, the least important is the H6. Now, the way HTML will arrange it for us is bigger. Then it will just arrange it. Let's open our browser. Now we've saved it. Let's refresh our page. Then let's see our content. Wow. You can see now that this is what I mean by least important. You can increase the size. So you'll be learning. I'll be also taking you on CSS course. you can purchase the CSS course, so you will learn how to use CSS to increase the size of this text. But I'll also teach you on how to use I'll teach you more on how to increase it with HTML, but we're going to be talking about CSS to achieve something like the Facebook environment, the beauty, all these designs you are seeing here. There's nothing, you can only do that with the help of CSS. You understand? So I will explain more on that. I'll talk to you about CSS. I'll brief you about CSS, then we can go more into it. So now you see that the H1, why is the H1 bigger? It's not H1. The H1 is supposed to be smaller because H6 is by, if we were to say, okay, by numbers, if we were to arrange them and say, okay, which one is the biggest number? If we have 1 apple, 2 apple, 3 apples, 6 apples, we'll say 6 apples, of course, right? But in programming in HTML, it is not like that. Okay, this is the way it is to show that H1 is the most important. Okay, so now you know how this works. Let's see what we have next. So HTML paragraphs, which we've talked about already. We've talked about HTML paragraphs. So let's talk about HTML links. What do you understand by an HTML link? Let me open something for you. For example, you've seen some sites where you have to click on, like what we have here now, where we have the sing and play kid songs. Okay, if I take my mouse over it, you can see that the cursor is changing to a finger. Okay, to a finger, to a pointer, to a finger pointing. Okay, to show that this is a link. Okay, that if I click on it now, it will redirect me to probably a page. So if I click on it, it should redirect me to a page like this. So that is like a link, linking me to another page. Okay, so we can also create our own links. So how do we create our own links in HTML? For you to create a link in HTML, you need what we call the A tag. The HTML links are defined with the A tag. With the A tag. Then we'll talk about attributes. If I go ahead and create what we call okay, now we have these ones. We have the H1 to H6. Let's go ahead and create a link tag. Since it is written there that you use the A tag to create a link, it is not enough to use just the A tag. But let's use the A tag and let's see the result we are going to get. So you just come here and write A, then close it. Don't write ordinary A without the angle, so make sure you write it and with the start tag and the end tag. Then in between it, I can come here and I can write my first link. So let's see how that like my first link. So let's save this page, Ctrl S, or you can come here and save it from here. So now I have successfully saved this. I'm going to come here and I'll refresh my browser. Yes, you can see that we have the text written here as my first link. But whenever I take my cursor over it, it is not changing like the pointer we have here that is changing. Okay, it is not changing. So why is it not changing? This is not like every other text. Okay, it is a link text. It is the A tag that is used to define a link text. But we are not getting something right here. The link what do we want to link to? Where is the link? We have not added any link. We have not added any link yet to the A tag. No link has been added. A link have to be added for the browser to know where we are linking to. You understand? And there is no way you can add the link like that by inside the text. You cannot just drop the link in here. No. The browser will not recognize it. Let's say, for instance, let's finish this up first, then I'll explain something to you. So for you to input your link, to add the link, attach a link to that particular A tag, where you want to link to, what you want to link to, what you want to link that page to, okay, what you want to link that button or that text to. You understand? Like we have here, okay. We have to use what we call attribute. An attribute. The link's destination is specified in the href attribute. Href attribute is another abbreviation by HTML. So that one is something you just have to understand and learn. Okay, so it is called href. So it is in between the href that we have the link we want to link to. Now the browser will now be able to recognize, to know that this is a link. So what I want us to do right now is to go ahead and type in the href. Now if you want to type in the href, just like it is written here, it is not written outside this closing angle. It is written inside the A tag. Right? It is written inside the A tag. So what I want us to do right now is come inside the A tag, then let's type in href. Now it's equals to, now use quotation. Make sure you learn to use the quotation mark. It is very, very important. Okay, Um,